it's an honor really to be invited to moderate this discussion. I'd like to welcome everyone and welcome our wonderful panelists, Rosie Kasica, Rachel Bernstein, and Alexa Lima. As you just heard from Nishi when she spoke about their bios a bit, all three of them are women who are highly successful within industry. But not only are they, successful in their fields, they're also strong advocates for mentorship. It's very clear that mentorship is deeply meaningful to them. It has not only shaped their own careers, but they are now themselves mentoring others and really helping build lives. So they're the perfect guests for today's discussion for this panel that is titled Mentoring as a Lifelong Practice. So thank you to all three of you for being here today and for being willing to share your insights and experiences. Okay, so we'll jump right in. If you could, in your own words, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about, what you do right now, what your current role is, and the journey that got you to this point.
Hi, everybody. It's so good to see everyone. I'm Rosie Kasica. I currently work as a business administration manager at CNN, as Nishi said, and the team that reports to me provides administrative support to CNN's New York on-air talent and the network's business affairs group. I also work closely with show executive producers and department heads, and basically, my team and I partner with finance, accounting, HR, travel, legal, IT, to provide as much administrative support as possible in areas like expense management and company policies, procedures, procurement, all that fun stuff. I also lead recruiting and hiring efforts and work to develop the staff that we currently have for advancement. Before I joined my current team, I was a senior broadcast producer for many years at CNN and HLN, their sister network, producing several business and crime-related shows. And as Nishi said, I've been part of the mentoring program since 2018. And I am on the advisory board for the Institute for Women's Leadership. That was something that I joined earlier this year. And a few years ago, I created an endowed scholarship in my father and godfather's names for first-generation undergraduate journalism students, because I was a first-generation student. So how I got here, definitely through my education at Rutgers, and through the people who mentored me there, professors that I had, and also the mentors that I had in the beginning of my career when I first started out in this business.
Thank you, Rosie. Rachel, do you want to go next? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, sure. I can go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Bernstein. I am a senior manager on the analyst relations team at Splunk, where I manage the relationship with those who create our technology and those who evaluate and rank our technology against our competitors. So it's my team's responsibility to ensure Splunk is favorably ranked in our markets, all the markets that we compete in across security and IT. It's very tech focused. So I keep my analysts happy on a day-to-day basis, up to speed on all things, our product roadmap, go-to-market strategy, our execution plays, things like that. And prior to Splunk, I was a PR manager at a PR agency. It was SSPR, now it's Next PR. I was located in Colorado when I was working there. And I essentially did media relations for tech companies and B2B, startups, tech companies, and the like. So prior to that, I was, at the IWL, and that's really what started shaping this mentorship path that I went on. It was a unique way to get into mentorship because it was really the inflection point of my career at the IWL. I was getting ready to graduate Rutgers, and a professor recommended I apply for this part-time position. And many, I'm sure a lot of you can, feel the anxiety after graduation. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So when this fell into my lap, I applied, and I'm so happy that I did. So I was fortunate to spend 3 amazing years at the IWL working on this very program now that Nishi's leading and doing an excellent job at. It's mentorship takes a lot of forms, and whether they realize it or not, I want to just say, like, Lisa Hetfield and Emily Herron and Sasha Tanner were all mentors to me in one way or another when I was at the IWL, and it just holds a very special place in my heart because I got to witness, like, really firsthand the opportunity it creates for women to succeed in this sector. So, like everyone else in this call, I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to be a part of this program. So thank you for having me. It's nice to meet everybody.
Thanks, Rachel. Alexa.
Hello, it is a pleasure to be here, and hello to everybody. My name is Alexa Lima. I'm the Marketing and Outreach Manager for the Tara Del Group. We are a social good PR agency based in Jersey City. Within my role, I help nonprofits, mission-based businesses, government agencies, transportation sector businesses with their brand awareness, with their messaging, with outreach initiatives. It's a lot of fun, lots of different hats to wear when you're in PR. Prior to my role there, I was the executive director for the Central Avenue Special Improvement District. It was a nonprofit focused on the economic development of a mainly Latino-based neighborhood in Jersey City. It was actually within my time there where I was a mentee within this program, and I had Beth Eisen as my mentor. And before that, I was a student at Rutgers, and I was interning at IWL as their PR and social media intern. So I have a lot of love for IWL, and I truly believe that it's because of them that I am where I am today.
Right. Well, thank you all. It's really clear that the IWL and the Media Mentoring Program has had a profound impact on on all of you as not only your careers, but as you as individuals, and your efforts to really cultivate that culture of mentorship and giving back to the community. So that's so wonderful to see. I'm wondering if you could speak about, those experiences you had as mentees in the program. I think it's Rachel and Alexa initially. And then Rosie, for you, from the perspective of a mentor, what are you all looking for? What are, practices that you think optimize the relationship, both for a mentee and for a mentor?
I can start. I believe that there's definitely 2 big things, and that is accountability and dedication. Accountability on both parties. Both the mentee needs to want to see it and hold themselves accountable with meeting the deliverables and the goals, and making themselves available to meet with their mentor, but also the mentor themselves. Setting realistic timelines on different things. I know that when Beth and I first met, it was really funny. We both came in with our own lists, our own goals that we wanted to do. So we structured it so every single month we would meet, no matter what we would have to meet, and we had a specific subject that we wanted to talk about in that moment. And it's really just, I guess, also your willingness to learn from each other. So even if one person didn't know, if my mentor didn't know something, they would connect me with somebody else. So it's the dedication of even going that extra level of, I don't know, but I do know somebody who can, and I will do that for you.
Yeah, that's so true. I've always found that, when you're connected to a mentor, you're technically connected to their entire network, because, they're going to help you anywhere they can. So that's a great point.
Yeah, and I would echo everything Alexa just said, so I won't repeat it, but those were all spot on points. And I would also say openness and authenticity. Don't be afraid to be yourself, and don't be afraid to utilize your mentor. They want to help you succeed in any way they can. Like you just said, expanding their networks to you. So I would just encourage everyone coming into this program to really think about what it is that you want to get from your mentoring relationship as you enter it. What are your goals? How can your mentor help you get there? And what are you looking to get out of the relationship, short-term and long-term? So really think about it, come to the check-in calls with an area of focus, so everyone can make the most of your time together. And I don't think it has to be a one-sided way of, mentee asking mentor for advice. I think mentors benefit a lot from the relationship too. I learned so much from the mentees that I have in my life. So it shouldn't be a one-sided relationship. See what you can learn from your mentees as well, because, that'll just drive more value in your life as you move forward.
I totally agree with you both, Rachel and Alexa. I really do. And what you just said, Rachel, hit home, because in my years with this group, I've learned so much from my mentees. I feel like sometimes I'm the mentee and not the mentor, but it's been a great experience. And I think you definitely want someone who is eager and open to learning, as your mentee, and obviously your mentor too. And I think the important thing is we give a lot of feedback in the sessions that we have. So being able to receive that feedback in a positive way is pretty important. And also, I think something that's important to me is when I have a mentee, I want them to challenge me. I'm going to challenge them. I want them to challenge me back. Ask the questions. If we're talking about something and I haven't really hit what they're thinking, I want them to say, hey, well, what about this? Like, why wouldn't you do it this way? Or why wouldn't you handle it this way? I feel like I learn a lot more when I'm being challenged by them, and I hope that they get that in return from me.
Yeah, all great points. One thing that seems to come up sometimes in mentoring relationships, especially like at the student level, that I've noticed is that students are hesitant to reach out to their mentor. They're like, oh, but they're so busy, I don't want to bother them. From a mentor's perspective, what do you think about that? When, what are your thoughts on that?
I always try to tell my mentees I'm available. I think having an open line of communication and saying to them, oh, listen, I can't do it this day, but I'm available this day. What's your schedule like? Just keeping that line of communication open and telling them right from the start, I'm here for you. Mm-hmm. Use me. So I always try to stress that point when I first meet them, because we're here to communicate, and we have things going on in our lives, in our jobs. It's just a matter of telling each other what's happening and then figuring out what will work.
Absolutely. Yeah. And mentors have told me it's when they don't reach out, right? That's when I feel like I'm not valued. So the best way that you can show that you value your mentor is by reaching out and is by asking for their time. Right. All right. So I'm wondering how you found your own mentors. Of course, some of it is through formal relationships, like in this program. But if your goal is really to create a culture of mentorship, how have you identified who might make a good mentor for you? And how do you cultivate those relationships?
I can jump in and start if that's good. So I personally have moved a lot over the past 6 years. I found myself in Colorado, Washington, a short time in Alabama. Now I'm in Boston. So, when you move a lot, it's really hard to establish very meaningful connections and relationships when you're only there for, 2 years, short amount of time. So I always try to find like an organization or, nonprofit that I'm passionate about and get involved in, whether it's just like a regular volunteer opportunity or something a little bit deeper that I can help with, like at a, organizational level. So for example, when I was in Colorado Springs, I sorely missed, it was my first job after the IWL. So I really missed my IWL community. And I was like really longing for like that just like feeling of like, yes, I have my women with me every day eating lunch. Like I just missed that community. And I found a very similar type of organization with a similar mission. It was called Rocky Mountain Women's Film, and it was a nonprofit organization that hosts the largest women's film festival in the country. Like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. So I got involved and I found like the most amazing women from all walks of life. And through that, getting involved at a community level, I found mentorship and connection, through that type of work. And that's kind of like out of the traditional professional sphere, because I think, at work, we find mentorship a little bit easier. You align with, people in your organization who you want to learn from and who want to learn from you, and you take people under your wing and they take you under your wing. And it's a little bit more formal, like a one-to-one coffee chat, and you guys can just kind of like hop on a Zoom. I know everyone's kind of like remote these days, so like a Zoom coffee chat or something. So this is like a little like less traditional form of mentorship. So I think like the volunteering, the community-based organizations, other ways that you can get involved, and you're likely to, connect with people a little bit more who have personal interests of yours also. And those are kind of like lifelong friendships you can move forward with, rather just than connecting with people in your company on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you.
And to just add to the company part of that you mentioned, Rachel, I do feel like if your company does offer programs that you can be a part of, like take them up on it, do it. You do get to meet people who do have similar interests, some people who are doing the same job as you, some people who are parents and have, how are their life work balance, how are they handling that? It's really good to be a part of those groups too.
Similar to what Rosie was saying about having it within your workplace. TDG, where I work, we actually have a mentorship program, but we do it very differently. And I think it's because like your mentor doesn't have to be an authority figure. It could literally be absolutely anybody. And you can learn from anybody. So I guess really being open to who can you learn from. So we actually had a neurosurgeon come to us and teach us about efficiency. Like who else will learn about how to organize yourself and work in a fast-paced environment than a surgeon? So, or even just so we have a nice team of professionals, seasoned professionals, but we're still learning. And so I think it's that idea of like wanting to learn, not having an ego to want to learn, and being open to who you can learn from, that can really cultivate these mentorship opportunities.
Yeah. No, that's a fantastic point, Alexa. That's definitely the direction that mentoring is headed towards, because you might need a different person for a different aspect of your life. The person that you're going to turn to figure out how to get a promotion is not the person you want to necessarily speak to about work-life balance and your kids, right? So you turn to a different person for everybody, and you don't always need that hierarchical relationship. So, and I think especially for women and women of color, those peer level relationships have been extremely empowering. So yeah, definitely a fair point there. Okay. And actually that leads really well into our next question, which is, can you speak to what it means for women and women of color who work in traditionally underrepresented fields to have or not have a mentor? How does it help them, especially when they're starting out?
So I'm happy to jump in also. Oh, Rosie, you
go ahead. I was thinking, go ahead. It's all you.
I was just going to say, I think it's helpful. So Yes, especially coming from like a tech background, it's very male dominated, as you can imagine. So it's helpful to take a lot of the women that enter the field of work that I do in analyst relations usually come from like a PR background, and it's a very new scene for them when it comes to like how male dominated it is. So I think it's helpful just to have them understand like the potential hurdles they'll have to jump through, when it comes to like working in big tech and analyst relations. And I always find it discouraging, especially in my industry, to see when I see women kind of like become adversaries. I just become an advocate. I try to say to myself and like find common ground and help each other and like lift each other up, because like more likely than not, you all have some knowledge or skill that doesn't match one another, and you can learn from one another. And I have like more junior women on my team who I kind of just like take under my wing, and I'll schedule one-to-ones with them, nothing formal, just being like, hey, like your 1 year's coming up, like what have you achieved in a year, and like what were your goals, and like how can we help like get you like a promotion plan or something, like just kind of like showing the opportunities and taking the opportunity to like guide these like younger women in tech and navigate them around the politics of the tech industry, when it comes to like kind of like climbing that ladder. So I just try and find every opportunity I can to find them and help them out in any way that I can, because I went through the same experience. So that's from like a very like singular tech point of view.
I totally agree with you, Rachel. I being in TV news for such a long time, I still feel like women have to prove themselves, maybe not as much as they did years ago, but we always seem to be the ones having to time and time again, this is what I do. I know how to do that. I can handle this. I won't, like I'm not gonna get emotional, because that's always a big thing. Like, you're gonna get emotional. No, because I'm a woman. No, I can handle the job. But I feel like time and time again, we have to continue to prove ourselves. And I think I also have a team that's pretty young. And I, it's funny, you were talking about goals and in 1 year, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I got to take care of that tomorrow. So, because I have a few people that we have to talk about, what they want to do, if they want their future to remain on our team or do something else within the company or even outside of the company. But I think trying to get them to kind of like be in some sort of solidarity kind of sends a message to the company too. Oh, okay, we've got these young women who are really working hard and striving to be the next leaders, the future leaders of the company. I feel like we have to prove ourselves, but we get there and we blow them away every time. And I'm so happy about that.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think it's so empowering and transformational, really, to belong to a community where there are people, striving together for something, as opposed to just trying to do it on your own. You realize that, you're part of this larger culture and larger community of upliftment, and that makes all the difference, to be able to, actually be successful. Alexa.
So this actually reminds me of a question that Emily Heron asked me when I interviewed for the PR, social media and PR internship a few years ago, and it's about representation. And I answered, growing up, the only representation I had was Selena, and that was just J-Lo. Because it's true, because I'm a young Latina, and I didn't have representation, and now I'm at the point where I see it all the time, and it makes me so happy. But I'm here now. I'm picking up space, and I think I'm using my voice. I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna say my experience, because some other Latina is going through the exact same thing, is going through my same shoes, in the same shoes, and I get to help them in any way I can, or they cannot feel so alone the way I felt alone in this process.
Yeah. So a couple of you talked about leadership and representation, seeing it at the higher level. So we're all on this path journeying towards some sort of, or aspiring for leadership roles. So what have you noticed about how the importance you place on mentorship as you progressed through your own careers? It makes a difference when you're starting out, but what difference does it make as you're further up the ladder? Whether it's yourselves or colleagues that you've noticed, what are you seeing when it comes to getting mentorship at, for leadership roles?
I can start off. When, I feel like when we have seen women at the top being those top leaders, I feel like there's more mentors for junior employees who are women. I think when you have women in these roles of leadership, it inspires other women to become mentors themselves and to strive to reach that next level in their career. It gives women motivation and confidence, and it's so important that we keep striving to get to that top level, because it kind of like rains down on everybody, and it's a good feeling.
Absolutely.
To piggyback off of that, it makes it tangible. It makes it like, it's no longer just like a, what if I can be that? No, it's just seeing it.
And I would just echo everything Rosie and Alexa said. I think, like we said earlier, I think it can just have a profound impact, mentorship, on the mentor and mentee. So it supports a culture of continuous learning and development. Even if you are at the top, or like you are a woman in leadership, like at a high performing level, like I think it creates a safe space for them as well, to seek judgment-free advice from those who have been in similar situations. So yeah, and it just enables that connection. And I think you need that connection no matter, like, if you're at a junior level or you're like the CMO at a company, like everyone needs some sort of mentorship in their life, no matter how high up you get, because I think like there's always more to learn, and there's always more to be gained from connecting with women who've either been in your shoes or are striving to be in your shoes.
Yeah. So would you all consider mentorship integral to leadership development?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. So, I'm wondering if, Rosie, you're a little further along, what your thoughts are on sponsorship.
As for mentoring, you mean?
No, like separate from mentoring, because, with mentoring, it's really when someone's speaking with you about your development and your goals. With sponsorship, it's like you need an advocate at a senior position, who's speaking about you in the rooms that they are not in, right? So advocating for your advancement, and that how important it is as you progress through your career to not only have mentors, but to have sponsors. A sponsor is not someone you can ask, can you be my sponsor? It's more like somebody who takes you under their wing and says, I'm going to be your champion and make sure that you progress. So I think for everyone here, right, it's mentorship in terms of leadership development can get you to a certain point, but beyond that, you might need a sponsor. So that's something to think about as well as you are working with your mentors.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I believe that you do need one. I'm pretty sure I had one or two along the way who definitely advocated for me. And I know I do that in turn for the people who work for me. When I see something that's available or I shouldn't say something, when I see a job that's available or a project that I think one of my people can definitely lead, I'm always going to throw their name in, and I'm always going to tell people, you're going to be in the right hands with her, you know. I don't know, I don't go around telling, sometimes I'll do that and they don't know I do that, but it's so important to be able to know that the people that you work with, so that you can talk about them in a positive, confident manner, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And like I said, I know the first mentor that I had, I did not have this program when I was at Rutgers, and I wish I did, but I did have mentors. The first one that I had at CNN was the first day that I was there. The woman who trained me, and she only trained me for one day because then she moved on to another job, became my mentor. She still is my mentor to this day, and we're good friends. And I think I've mentored her along the way too. And I know she has certainly been a sponsor for me and has advocated for me, because I know along the way I've gotten promotions and projects that I was surprised to actually get. I would throw my name in the ring, but it was good to have somebody back me up and say, you're going to be okay with her. She's got this. Trust me, and then you do the job and people are happy with you. So yes, sponsorships are definitely important in all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't always realize how important it is after a certain point, but you seem to be doing it already, Rosie, and have benefited from it as well. So that's great to see. Okay, so I guess one last formal question before we open it up to the room to hear your own questions directly. But what is a piece of advice, the best piece of advice you'd like to give to everyone starting out in their mentoring relationships this year through the program? Maybe it's something that you wish you'd known when you were just starting out, but any piece of advice, what would you like to share?
I can go first. Beth was just an incredible mentor, and she came truly at the perfect time in my life. And I was 23 and completely riddled with imposter syndrome. And I think the best advice that she gave me, and I hope that you really take it to heart, is that you earned the right to call yourself a professional. So when you get an award, you won that award. It was not luck. When you get that position, when you get your that nice little job, you earn that, and you are indeed a professional. You did not just, I think it's because I knew that person. No, you are a professional, and you need to believe it. It took me a long time to believe it, so I hope that you do.
So how did you get yourself to believe? How did you move past that imposter syndrome?
I think it's with our little subjects every single time. We were we had one month was on public speaking, and I was like, I'm not really good at public speaking. I'm really I get scared, and we'd work on it. And she's like, Alexa, you're great at this. And I'm like, what? I guess I kind of am a natural at this. Or it would be on something else and be like, I don't know if my networking skills are so good. And then I'll do it. And she'd be like, Alexa, look at what you did. And I was like, I guess I did do that. But it was just the constant doubting of what, I'm too young, I'm too green. But no, it's not that. It's the mindset that you put into it. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think for me, if I had to give advice, it's don't be afraid to ask questions. Always be curious. Because I feel the more you ask questions, the answers that you get will help you learn so much more, and It'll make it easier for you to make decisions, not only with your career, but your life in general too. When I started out in this business, I asked questions pertaining to the job that I was doing, but sometimes I didn't ask questions pertaining to me. And I think it's really important to not be afraid to do that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I love everything Rosie and Alexa said. That resonates so much with me. A piece of advice I would give, and I think because this comes up so often, I see this just, in my personal life with my friends and, with my mentees and my colleagues, is just give yourself some grace and don't compare yourself or your career journey to anyone else's. We're all on our own journey in life, and things fall into place at different times, and no one's experience is created equal. And like, it's not too late to get into a different area if that's what you want. Do you want to go back to grad school? It's great. It's not too late. Like, did it take you 5 years to graduate? Hello. Like, I transfer student. I thought I was behind, but in the end, like, that was my journey. And, I compared myself to other people, and that wasn't their journey, and things have fallen into place. So, like, give yourself some grace. Don't compare yourself. And another one that I like to keep in the front of my mind, because this is just change is constant, and get used to being uncomfortable. Like, the gif of the dog sitting in a room and he's drinking coffee and the fire is all around him. Like, I think of that all the time, because sometimes, like, you just have to let it burn around you. Like, you can't control everything around you. And I think we think that we can, because we like to be, if you're like me, like, I like to control every situation in my life, but sometimes you just like have to let it go, let things play out on its own. I used to be so allergic to change. It was paralyzing. So, I think everything that's changed in your life, willing or unwilling, you grow from it. And I've learned that, in my personal life and my professional career. And, I think you become a more well-rounded person, and you have different access to experiences and different people that you wouldn't otherwise have if you didn't just like let the change happen. So give yourself some grace. Don't compare your career journey to anybody else's, and just know that change is constant. So it's going to be uncomfortable for a while.
Yeah, this is all such great advice. I was thinking the same thing, get uncomfortable with being uncomfortable, right? That is spot on. And Rosie and Alexa, what you shared, really, pushing yourself and putting yourself out there is, it reminded me of this quote I love, which is, your life unfolds in proportion to your courage. So it's only as courageous as you are is, your life is going to expand in proportion to that. So that's something I think if everyone can remember, just, put yourself out there, and, you will get closer to where you want to be. Okay, well, that's all the questions I have. I would love to hear from the audience. So what questions do you have for our panelists? Just feel free to just raise your hand using the raise hand function. And maybe Nishi, you could call folks out since I can't see everyone. Or maybe we can go to, no, that's fine. Just call on them.
Yeah, I can definitely keep track of that. I do know that there was a question in the chat earlier as well. I think, Alexa, you touched on this when you talked about meeting with your mentor for a topic every month, and you mentioned public speaking as an example, but there was a question about, like, do you have more examples of the specific things that you focused on?
Yeah, we focused on, so I think it's a 6-month program. So we had 6 different topics. One of them was just updating my LinkedIn. How is it supposed to look like? We really focused during like the winter months, going through Zoom and just fixing up my bio and everything. And then we worked on public speaking, and so we would she would make me record myself, and do my little elevator pitch of like how to introduce myself when I do network and how do I feel comfortable in that. What other ones did we talk about? Yikes, I'm trying to think, but it was definitely a few different topics. But I know that I mentioned that I really want to do learn professional Spanish better. And she was like, "Oh, I can't help you with that." That was one no. But so you know, but we did have a few different topics. I just can't think of it. I'm sorry.
Thanks. Does anyone else want to share what you work on in your mentoring relationships?
I work a lot on networking and the importance of networking and making those connections with any group, not just at your job, but anything, you know, if you volunteer with a group, making connections with them, because you just never know who knows who. This business is not as big as we think. So it's good to make those connections as much as possible.
A common theme that came up in a lot of conversation with my mentee was how to ask for a pay raise and a promotion. So, and the money talk is always, and promotion talk is always like an uncomfortable subject. No one wants to, you know, ask for more money or like say why they deserve a promotion or, you know, put themselves out there. It's that imposter syndrome, kind of like Alexa was talking about, like, am I worthy of this? Like, oh, maybe I'll just put it off until like next quarter. Like, you know, I don't have to talk about this now, but I would really push her to think about what it is, like, of what you achieved and you know, how she can showcase her work and why, you know, she deserved to be at the next level, because she, you know, she didn't believe it. So we really worked on kind of like reframing the mindset of, you know, why it is that, you know, you deserve this and what you're worth. And I used you know, people who I knew like in her industry of like what like that number should be and how like always advocate up. And even though you think that it's too much, like the least they can like say is no, you know, like, and they'll bump you down, but at least you asked. And like, what's the worst that could happen? They say yes. So, you know, just trying to like reframe like the worthiness of what you deserve. I think that's really important. And I think a lot of us have trouble. I especially have trouble with that, and I'm still learning. So that's a subject I think that comes up a lot.
Yeah, those are all really spot on. It's also about making the mentoring relationship about what you as the mentee want. So you should feel free to, you know, discuss, because that's what you're bringing, right, to the relationship. Say, I get really nervous when I have to speak to a group of people. So if Alexa had said that, then the mentor can come up with an action plan. Okay, we're going to, you know, work on your public speaking, but your mentor has to first know what it is that you need. So that's your responsibility as the mentee to come to them with, you know, some goals for yourself. And then you can work with your mentor to sort of refine them, and they would have an action plan. Like, okay, you want to build your network, Rosie? Rosie's going to introduce you to these 5 people in the field that you're interested in, right? So you coming with some ideas rather than leaving the work to the mentor to figure out what it is that you need is important as well, I think. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Miranda. Hi. Go ahead. Just unmute yourself.
Hello. First, I'd like to say thank you so much for all of those beautiful things you've all shared. I feel like writing them down, it just feels like very inspiring. So thank you. But I wanted to ask, since you talked a lot about like how you can show up as a mentee, do you have like recommendations for like how to check in with yourself and setting goals to start with? Like how do you like get a temperature read of where you're at in your career at any given time? I don't know if you have any like practices or recommendations for that type of thing.
I think it's all about communicating. So I think having a good line of communication with your manager or supervisor, and setting time aside with them to get kind of like a check on how they see you performing, gives you somewhat of an idea of how you're doing in the job. I know sometimes initially it's hard for people to start that question, like to ask them, but it's really important to know where you are so that you can figure out where you want to go. So for me, I think the main thing is to have that conversation with whoever it is that you report to give you some sort of check. Okay, I'm 6 months into the job. I think I'm doing well, but I want to know what your assessment is of my performance.
Yeah, I totally agree, Rosie. And I find it my current boss, it's very interesting. So she, even though I'm on a specific team, within my organization, she always advocates for us to continue to follow where we want to be. So if you're in a specific team currently and you're not 6 months in and you're like, because this is the situation that I have with like a junior person on the team. She doesn't know if she wants to stay on our team. And that's a kind of an uncomfortable situation. Like, do I continue trying to grow and move forward and have a career on this team that I am on? Or do I transition laterally within the organization? And how do I have that conversation with my boss? And it's really nice that we have that boss who's like, I want to know where you want to be. And if you don't want to be on this team, then I'll support you and advocate for you to be on another team. So I think it's also an understanding who you're talking to and how open of a conversation you can have with them. So if your manager, your direct manager, your boss isn't someone who is that open to like advocate for you, like maybe find someone else within the organization who is also. Like your direct report and your direct manager doesn't always have to be that person. So if you find someone that you connect with on another team and you really like maybe want to be over there, find an advocate in them and connect with them and see how you could kind of transition there. But I think it's just that openness of communication. Like, understand, you have to get that temp check internally. Like, how do you actually think you're doing? And like, if you know that you need to like progress and get a little better, like just be honest with yourself. I mean, I feel like it took me like close to a year to be like, okay, I think I'm actually ready for the next level. Like, I think I'm ready for like the next set of responsibilities, because at that 6-month mark, like it wasn't just a confidence issue. It was like, I really don't think I'm ready. So I really do think it's like, sometimes you just have to like face the hard truth of like where you are. And like, sometimes it's just 6 months, you may not be there. That's fine. And that's fine. It takes a little longer. And like I said, give yourself some grace. Not everyone's on the same path and career trajectory and like promotion cycle. Everyone's on their own journey. So just, be patient with yourself.
I'm gonna piggyback off of Rachel and her point of being very honest with yourself. And I think I'm gonna go a little opposite of like more of like internally, like being honest with yourself and setting goals, little goals from yourself, not from others, not from like your supervisors. Like, let's say that you really want to just be better in writing, like just like do something, little small things. Like, I want to be able to really like, well, at least with me, because I have to do so many writing assignments, I'm like, I'll see like a word, I'm like, I really like that word. I want to make sure that I can use that word in a writing assignment and make it actually sound well. So like little things like that, so like you can see your own what's the word? Your own growth, and you're not hearing it from somebody else. Like you. So if your supervisor says, I don't really see growth, you at least know, no, I did see the growth. I saw my writing improve, or I saw that I got more confident in my networking because I went to these events and I spoke to these many people. So at least you have that reassurance that you did it.
All great advice. Do we have any other questions? Yeah, I see Lisa's hand up. Lisa. Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. I just want to point out, from my perspective, listening to all of you is such a good reminder that what we want from our mentor can be help with getting me where I want to go, but also ideas for how I want to be. And just listening to all of you, I feel that you are people who affect the culture of your organization. And we all know, I mean, we see this at Rutgers. I know I move from group to group within Rutgers in my role. Some groups are very competitive. It's a different feeling being there. And others are very collaborative. And that's a different way of being. And I wondered if you all have some specific ways you tap into making a culture change when you identify, this is the kind of space that isn't working, or I want to do more around this kind of space to make it work more across the organization. Is that a clear question? It's about this idea of competition versus collaboration.
I hear you, Lisa. I'm trying to think of the right way to frame this and trying to find an example. Yeah, well, yes, I think specifically in my role, we have to be very collaborative with other teams. And I think in tech, people get very territorial over their areas, whether it's a specific product or like a customer, or type of like a marketing. So I think there's a very fine, delicate balance of our team sweeping in and saying, we need to their customer advocacy team, for example, like we need a customer to talk to an analyst so they can tell our analyst how great our product is, and they can be a reference for us, and they can talk on our behalf. And they get a little territorial over like how they're using customers because they're spread so thin. And I think it's really just finding that balance of like, this isn't just a need for us. Like this is a need for like the larger organization. Like this is a goal we're all moving towards. And let me tell you why. So I think you need to like navigate the personalities you're working with, understand like what the goals for each team is. Because it does become, it can get a little prickly with people, and they can get a little territorial, and they don't want to like use their give their resources that they need for something else. So I think if you take the time to connect with people, it's so hard these days because you're not in office, but schedule a meeting, have a chat, understand each other's goals and like how you're working towards the goals for the larger organization and how this like benefits everybody in the end. So I think it's really like level setting and then showing like why we're doing this. So it's the understanding, it's the communication. And I think just like that's a starting point to understand like how you move forward when you're trying to like collaborate without it being competitive. I know that was kind of like a specific example. I think it's a little different when you're in like a very large like tech organization, but maybe Alexa or Rosie have a different example.
No, I was thinking when you were talking about people being territorial, I kept thinking about when shows are working on the same story and they're trying to get that one guest, and it's like, it's my guest, and we're not going to share them, and no, they cannot go later onto your show. Like people just they get crazy, but it's more or less the same thing that Rachel was talking about, the way you have to handle that and talk to people and come kind of like find a common ground, because it's just a guest. I know it's everybody wants the ratings, but it's just a guest. We can all share and play nice in the sandbox.
Alexa, did you have anything to add?
No, I don't have an example for that, but I think Rachel and Rosie answered it well.
Okay. Yeah, now I would only add one thing, that is, I hear you, Lisa, about organizations, having a different culture in different places, but I think most often, even within an organization, you have, personalities or folks that fall within competitive and collaborative, and to work within these diverse environments, sometimes you just have to figure out, sometimes assessments are really helpful to see how people can work better together, because that is the challenge. But I think taking assessments for how you work on a team, within a team, can really make for a better working environment, because there's competition everywhere and there's possibility for collaboration everywhere. So Nishi, I see Jasmine has her hand up, but I wanted to check on time with you. Are we good to take one last question?
Yeah, I think Jasmine can be the last question.
Okay, great. Go ahead, Jasmine.
Hello, everyone. Well, I didn't really have a question. I just wanted to make a statement and just say that I've been a mentee in this program, and now this is my first year being a mentor to Julia Block. So shout out to her as my mentee. And I just want to say how great this program has been for me. And I'm so excited to be a mentor now and like see how I can even glean more from it. But when I was a mentee, like my mentor helped me so much, and she helped me learn how to like get freelance opportunities, because I do creative writing and I wasn't able to find a job, and the pandemic had hit, and it was a crazy time. And she kind of gave me her network, her resources, and different tools to help me be able to get freelance writing gigs. And it gave me a sense of confidence that, okay, not only am I able to get these jobs in corporate America, but if something were to ever happen, I can stand on my own 2 feet and leverage my skills to be able to get independent work. And so I'm looking forward to paying it forward and being a great mentor in this program. But even like one of my great corporate jobs that I got, where I was like making more money than I ever made, and I had a really good title, I got that role through someone that I met in this mentorship program. So like this mentorship program has helped me in more ways than one. And I'm just like really appreciative that it came across my email one day randomly in 2019, and that all these years later, I'm still a part of it and still learning and still gaining information.
Yeah. Jasmine, what a great comment to end this panel on. Mentorship is really the gift that keeps on giving. The fact that you start out as a mentee and then you just want to pay it forward, and you keep paying it forward. And also your relationships, they just grow and expand, because once you invest in someone, you're in it and you have their back for the long run, right? So I want to thank all of you. Thank you to all our panelists for sharing your time and your valuable insights. And I just say how inspired I am by this community that you've created over here. So congratulations and good luck to all of the mentors and mentees starting off this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Sangeeta, for moderating this panel. It was great. And thank you to all 4 of you for such a rich discussion on mentorship, its merits and benefits. And I'm sure that this will set the stage for a productive and beneficial year. And of course, thank you to the audience. It was great to see everyone so engaged in the chat box and all the questions. So this was amazing.